Hi, welcome to my channel. It's Stamperia with a fun project today, and we're going to do some frames for some very cute picture cards from Stamperia's little boy collection. They have a similar collection for little boy and little girl, and I love those this card page. Actually, I have some that are single pages, so I'll be using that today. And I happen to have one from leftover scraps from an album that I've done, so I just kept a few of them, and I'll be using those. But if you don't have that, if you don't have scraps, just that one page should be enough to make one picture frame. So these are some of the cards that I have left here. I happen to cut already a couple of pictures out. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut that out, and we're going to do a frame within a frame, and we're going to end up with an 8x10, a very cute picture to hang in a baby's room. Okay, so let's begin. What you're going to need for this project is just one sheet of this the cards by Stamperia. Okay, you're going to need one sheet. If you happen to have scraps of other sheets, then I would go ahead and use those, and these are some of the scraps that I had, and I already started using them. You're gonna need 2 mat boards, and if you don't have mat boards, just use chipboard or any kind of hardboard that you have. Okay, but we're gonna need 2 of them in identical size of 8 inches by 10 inches. You're gonna need another piece of cardboard or chipboard. This is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. You're gonna need 2 strips of 10 inches by 1 inch. 2 strips, 10 inches by 1 inch. And 2 strips, I think these are 6 inches by 1 inch. So 4 strips. 1 sheet of 12 by 12 craft color cardstock, and this is 65 pounds. And a piece of 6 by 8 same color craft color cardstock. And I think that is, oh, and you're gonna need a 1 string. This is a thread. I think this is wax cord that is usually used for jewelry. And this is approximately, I think, 14 inches or so. Yes, it's about 14 inches. Besides that, we're gonna need glue. And I'm using art glitter glue, some double-sided tape, scissors, ruler, and gonna need some ink. And for the ink, I'm using distressed ink. And I'll use the vintage photo from this pad and a dabber. I also have a pen, pencils, my folding tool, my glue spreader, and all the usual tools. I'm going to take my one of my 8 by 6 mat boards, and I already punched the hole over here at 1 inch from each corner. Let me show you. I have a little hole here and a little hole here. Okay. I taped the other side with double side tape. You want to go ahead and take your bone tool. You want to go and go over it and tighten it so that there will not be any bubbles. Just give it a good press. And take your 12 by 12 solid color cardstock. And you're gonna put this over the cardstock. The reason that I'm not using regular glue is because this is my outer side of my photo frame, my picture frame, or my picture. It's gonna, this is gonna be the back side. If I'm gonna use regular glue, then you're gonna see the lines of the glue ripple through. That's why I'm using just regular tape over here. And you want to put it over the paper so that there'll be about 1/2 inch around. About an inch, I'm sorry. You want about an inch. If you have less, if you have 1/2 inch, it still is sufficient, but it's a 12 by 12 paper, so we have 1/2 inch. It's more than enough. You can go ahead and cut the excess off. I'm going to cut triangles out, and we're going to leave about 1/4 inch from the corners. You don't want to cut too close to the corner because you're going to wrap them around. If you cut too close, you're going to leave the corners exposed. Okay. Now we're going to put the string over through the holes. So let's just mark where the holes are. Puncture a hole through. And this tool gets just enough with a one inch over here. And if you don't have a tool that punches holes, just take a regular pin and just punch a hole. It's fine. You just want a little hole so that you can get the thread through. And you might want to, you might need to nudge it a little bit. It's easier if you pick up and hold it up from away from the table. And now you put the string through. We're going to glue it down, but not too tight, because we want to be able to leave a little bit room here for it to hang. So just make sure it's just loose just a little bit. Put some glue down, and you can be generous with the glue because you want the string to really stay down. I just want to make sure it's loose. See, it's loose. Not too much, just a little bit. And now you want to take just a regular paper. You can take regular ruled paper, printed paper, it doesn't matter, but it's 15-20 pounds, very light weight paper. The reason that I want to do a lightweight paper, not heavy, is because it'll just wrap around the thread and keep it in place. So be very generous with the glue around the rope or around the thread. And then just add paper glue here. Make sure it stays down. Okay. Take your tool and just lightly tighten it all the way around the rope. I keep calling it rope, but it is not a rope. It is just waxed thread. Okay. And now it is down, and once it dries, it'll stay down pretty good. Okay. I'm done with that. I'm going to take the second piece of mat board that I have that is the same size, and I'm going to put it right over the first one. And for here, I can use just regular glue because you're not going to see it over the two mat boards. And you just want to make sure that you have enough around the corners or around the edges. Put it down. And press it down. Okay. And now we're going to wrap this, the edges of the cardstock around. I always start with the long ones. The first thing I want to do is give it definition. So take your bone tool, start from the bottom, and press it down, fold it, and press the top. And what you're doing now is you're defining where the fold is going to be. Again, I'm starting from the bottom. It's like I use the mat board as a ruler, and I press my tool against it. So what I'm doing is I'm making this a very nice clean fold. Now that I have the folds defined, you can go ahead and put glue. I put a little bit on the edge, all around the edge, the other edge, and a little in the center. Put your paper down and use your bone tool to remove any air that might be trapped there. And you're going to repeat that on the other side. I want to make sure everything is, is down, nice and clean. When you get to the other two flaps, you're going to have to take care of the corners first. And you see how we have a little bit of the paper left here because we left a 1/4 inch away, remember? So we're going to fold it into itself before we wrap it around, because we don't want that. We want it folded just like when you wrap a present. You want to do it nice. So you take your fold tool and you fold that corner in. Okay. And it's gonna look like that. Okay. You're gonna press this down like that. And you're gonna fold this here onto itself like that. Make sure that there's a little bit of glue there on the corner, otherwise it'll open. And go ahead and close it. And now you have a nice, clean, wrapped corner. Okay, these are your corners. You're gonna do the same on the other side. Press it down, fold over. Okay, and now you have the base of the frame. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to wrap those around. And I'm going to take a second sheet of 12 by 12. And I think in the beginning I said one sheet of the 12 by 12, but we really need two of them. Actually, we need 3 for the third piece. Okay. I'm going to put these away on the side. So these we're going to be putting one strip here, and then the 2 shorter strips here, and then again the long one here, to get a frame of 10 by 8. Okay. And you do want to make sure that it's nice and straight, and if you're not sure, use a scoreboard or an L-shape ruler. Okay, so let's see what we're going to use. I usually don't use it, but go ahead and do it with that now, just for the purpose of the demonstration. Here we go. So you can use this in order to make sure that everything is straight together. Take the first piece, glue it down. I'm gonna glue the edge, the bottom, and the second edge. this down. And the fourth piece to the edges. Okay. We can take this out now. And I'm going to trim the excess off. And you don't want it over 1 inch, because then when you fold it over and it's too long, it will go over the line. And we're going to also trim inside, but I'm just trimming it away, not all the way. Just leave it here about 3/4 of an inch or so, something like that, and take the excess off. And we can remove this, we don't need this. Take your blade on your scissors, and from the corner, from this corner to this corner, make a slit in the paper. And repeat on all 4 corners. Okay. And now cut triangles out. Same thing as we did with the back side. Leave 1/4 of an inch from the edge. We're going to be wrapping this around exactly the same way. Okay, except that it's a frame now. It's not one piece, so we have 2 sides. Okay, let's take the bone tool. We're going to go around and do exactly the same thing as we did before. I'm going to take it around and give it definition. I have glue on my fingers. Just be careful when you're handling the frame, because it is made of 4 different parts that separated but held on together with a little bit of glue. So you don't want to bend it, because it can bend very easily. So just be careful when you're handling it, how you pick it up. Start with the inside. Don't worry if you get glue on it, because it's in the inside part. I'm gonna be gluing this anyway. What you'll want to do is make sure that the edges are tight. that they're wrapped around the chipboard without any what do you call, like pretty close to together, like wrap around really good. You don't want to do that and leave, you know, areas that are folding onto themselves. So the way to do it is usually you start from the bottom, in the middle, work your way in, and tighten it. And this way you'll make sure that it is tight. Okay. Now we're going to do the long part on the two sides. The corners. You can do it with your tool, you can do it with your fingers, with your nails, whatever it takes. So here you have the outer frame. And the last piece that we're going to wrap is the 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. And this will be the piece that the picture itself is going to be sitting on. So this is the card that I cut out, and it'll be sitting right on top of that, like so. Okay, so we'll take the 6 by 8 piece that we cut out. We're gonna lay the board on over it, and we're gonna wrap it around the same way that we've done this other 2 pieces. I'm just gonna use tape for this, not glue, because some of it is going to be visible. So the part that's visible, I really don't want to have the glue showing. And I also want the cardstock to sit nice and straight and flat over it. Take all air bubbles out. And we're going to take this and lay it at the center, leaving about 1 inch around. Turn it over, flatten it, just to make sure that it sits nice. Got our triangles out. Again, we're going to leave 1/4 inch on each side, not cut all the way down to the corner. We're going to leave a little bit there. Okay. Put some glue and wrap it around. Same as we did with the other two. Long side first. Make sure you always have a little bit of a dab of glue on the corners, because you want the corners to stay down. And the only way that they'll stay down and folded is with glue. So now we have it's like a raised bed, and this will go over it. It's pretty neat. I'm gonna go ahead and glue this on. And just use a little bit, you really don't need a lot. Be careful when you squeeze it, you don't want the glue to spread. If you get that, if it's coming out, just immediately remove it. Very gentle. And actually it is not sitting good. I have to move it up a little bit. Since this glue is water soluble, I am just going to clean up a little bit with a little bit of water, just dabbing a little bit. That was unfortunate, but I'm just gonna add a little glue, make sure that it's nice, it's flat. Okay. I'm gonna set it inside and let it dry. Okay, now I'm going to take this piece and I want to cut a little piece of paper that goes in there. Now, if you have leftover scrap paper, great, use that. If not, you can take solid color. You're gonna need something here. So I have a little bit of leftover. This is actually the back side of this. I'm going to look in here. And I'm going to do it this way. Okay, so this is 6 by 8. This is 6 by 8. I'm gonna make my paper just a little more, maybe 6.5 by 8.5. Okay. This is my 6.5 by 8.5. Here we go. I'm going to use a tape for this because part of it again will be visible and I don't want any wrinkles on it. On the center part, I can put a little glue because I'm going to put this over it, like that. Okay, again, I'm ironing it a little bit. Take the tape out. And put them again just in the middle a little bit. And lay it evenly. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut some strips that are 1/2 inch wide and 4 inches long. You can do 3 inches or 3.5 inches. You know, I like to do them about 4 inches. And all I do is I take the scraps that I have, and I use my little trimmer, and I cut a whole bunch of strips like that. You know, you can turn it around and have, you know, multiple colors, and you really just want a variety. Like over here. Yeah, and just go ahead and cut a whole bunch. You can also cut, if you have, from the solid color. Color coordinated. I always use color coordinated cardstock in my album, so I have leftovers from that as well. When you finish cutting a bunch of them, take your ink and go ahead and ink the edges, and just lightly, not too much. You just want to define the edges of them. You can use dark brown, soft brown. Now, I like this pad because it has 4 different colors. It has the black suit and the gray and the espresso, round espresso, and the vintage photo. So sometimes I mix it up. You know, if I want more definition, I use the ground espresso. If I want a really strong definition, I use the black suit. So I'm gonna go ahead and ink the edges of all of your strips. And you can use both sides. You know, once you do this side, once do that side, and it'll give you more variety. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for variety. So once you've done all of your strips, just going to put it aside for now. You're going to take a piece of cardstock that you don't need, you know, just that the color is going to be kind of blending in. You don't want a red under it. You want something neutral, you know, craft color. I happen to use gray here that I don't really use. And just lay them side by side. And the reason you want all of them more or less of the same size is because you do want eventually to cut it and use all of it. And then you're going to alternate the strips. And lay them one next to each other. And over here and over here, I have some that are short, which is fine, and we can always fill it up later because we will have some leftovers. When you finish laying all of your strips next to each other, take your paper trimmer, and I will bring mine here. And we're going to start trimming them. The first thing I'm going to do is just make sure that my edge is straight. And I'm going to start trimming at 1/2 inch. And now I'll turn it around and do the exact same thing on the other side. I need 12 strips in total. And the next step is inking all the edges of those strips. We might have to go over them again because we're going to trim them to size. But for now, we're just going to do the edge, the long edge of the strips. This technique I also use in order to make wider strips. And to make the wider strips is I take these narrower strips and put them together side by side while I'll alternate the direction that the strips go. And you get a very nice mosaic of the different pattern papers sitting side by side. It comes out very nice. You know, you can make it 2 inches, 3 inches, and it's a very effective way to use your scraps. Okay, so the arrangement is going to be this over here, on top here. And this will go in the center. And these will go all the way around. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to take my ink and ink the edges lightly, not too much. I'm going to use the light brown, the vintage photo, and go over the edges. And what it does, it just gives it a little bit of definition, a little depth. What a difference this makes. Okay, I just want to I just want to fix my corner a little bit here. So I'm going to put the paper there so that I'm only going to go on the corner. Here we go. Hide my little boo-boo. Okay, I'm going to do exactly the same thing here on the inside and on the outside of the frame. Okay, let's apply this here. And I'm being generous in the center of it. I don't want too much on the edges. Okay, make sure it's straight. Okay, I'm going to take some clips. And I'm going to put it over another chipboard, not directly on the frame because I don't want it to leave any marks. Okay, I'm gonna set it aside to dry a little bit. So I picked another picture. And I already cut it out and I just don't remember. Oh, here it is. I have this one cut out. Okay, and I think I will do the one with the teddy bear. I don't want any white edges. Okay. So these are my other two subject cards that I'm going to use. go ahead and ink the edges off. And right now I'm using Vintage Photo. I'm being a little generous with it. And I'm going to go with Vintage Photo here as well. The Vintage Photo brown is a lighter brown, and it has a little bit of yellow undertone to give it an aged look. So it's very nice to use whenever you're using craft color, cardstock, something have beiges, browns. It's very pretty together. Okay, now I'm going to go over with the espresso just on the corner, just on the edges, to just darken it a little bit. So since this is going to be a series of 3, these are the other parts of the frames that I've already prepared ahead of time. I'm just finishing up now and inking the other parts of the other 2 frames. I'm doing the same thing that I've done with the first frame that I demonstrated at the beginning of the video. And I'm doing it again on the other parts for the other 2 frames. Okay, we can, okay, we need 2 back papers, background. And we said we need 8.5 by 6.5. So let's see what we have. This is kind of cute. I like this. And I also like let me see what else I have. I have the stripes. I have the white polka dots. I don't want the stars, it's too much blue and blue. And this is cute. I think I like the big polka dots. Kind of ties together with this. Okay. So 8.5 by 6.5. Next one. Now from these papers, I have 2 more elements that I can use. So I think we will do this side. And this is very cute. Okay, so this is my arrangement. Now we can apply the double side tape to the back of the background paper that we cut. And the reason that I don't put liquid glue in the back is because some of it is going to be visible and I don't want any ripples showing through. So double side tape is the best option for this particular step. Make sure you attach it down, take all air bubbles out. Okay. Okay, put it in the middle. This covers it just about. Don't put too much on the edges because you don't want the glue to run. Okay. This glue dries pretty quickly. Let's set it aside, and we will do this one. And here I'm repeating the process on applying the background paper to the other two frames that I've prepared. Here, cutting the paper, putting the double side tape, and then applying the frame over it. And making sure that it stays tight. I'm putting clips around for a few minutes, letting it dry. Now let's take the strips that we prepared, and we're going to cut it to size so that it will fit right at the center of the outer frame. And I'm just putting it together and cutting the edges off. And I want to make sure that I like the arrangement, because remember I have 1/2 inch squares there, but I'm going to need to cut a little bit off of the corners. I just want to make sure that I like the arrangement, that it's all even, and I'm inking the edges off. After you cut it, you need to go back and re-ink it. I'm changing the tip of my glue so that I'll have a narrower tip, and it will disperse smaller amount of glue. I don't want a lot because I don't want the glue to come out from the edges and smear and get it all dirty. So just a little bit of glue will go a long way right there. And that's it. I'm just going back and forth, measuring, cutting until I'm satisfied, and once I am, I put the glue down and make it permanent. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, that's the last piece. To get attached. Making sure that I'm putting it the right side. This is my top. Here we go. It's beautiful. And I'm just going to put a couple of those here. Keep it down. Okay. So here I'm just going to go ahead and speed up the video as I'm repeating the process of what I've done in the first frame on the other two, which is inking the edges of the strips, applying the strips around the frame, and putting the centerpiece to the center of the frame. So this is just finishing up and putting together all the components. Okay. And last one. Woohoo! Here we go. My series of 3. All finished. It is very, very cute, if I may say so. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. It's a very fun and it's a rather easy project to do. It doesn't take very long, so